target, fire!
Welcome back, everyone. It's me, Matsmus, and we're talking about some heavy firepower today. Now, I want to say we're discussing small arms, but clearly we're talking about big arms, and heavy machine guns in particular, the 50 caliber machine gun, otherwise known as the M2 or the Deuce. So I'm not a subject matter expert, so if I get anything wrong, please make sure you correct me, and to verify that I am not here to give you an educational overview, more just an insight as to what the 50 caliber is. So, the Browning M2 heavy machine gun really needs no introduction, as many of you probably know exactly what this weapon system is. Serving in the US military for over 70 years, it is only outlived by another Browning design, the Colt 1911. Its service is highly respected around the world and is featured heavily in movies, games, books, TV shows, and when it comes to its firepower, it really is one of the coolest weapon systems out there to see in action. Several generations of fighting men and women all over the world have used this simple and yet extremely effective design in all types of combat and environments. Although there have been several medium machine gun designs that have come and gone, the M2 proves that if it isn't broke, then just don't fix it attitude, and has remained the main HMG in the US infantry to this day. But where did this beast start its life? To find that out, we have to first focus on the projectile it's using to make such outstanding firepower. The Browning 50 caliber round originated in the Great War. American interest in armoured piercing cartridges was influenced by the marginal French 11mm design, prompting the US Army Ordnance officers to consult Browning. They wanted a heavy projectile that could travel at 2,700 feet per second, but the ammunition just didn't exist. Browning pondered the situation and, according to his son John, replied, "Well, the cartridge sounds pretty good to start with. You go make up some cartridges and we'll do some shooting." At this time, there was also a strong influence by Germany's 13.2 by 92mm SR .53 cal anti-tank rifle round, and Ordnance contracted with Winchester to design the 50 cal. Subsequently, Frankfurt Arsenal took over from Winchester, producing the historic 50 BMG or 12.7 by 99mm cartridge. The army then returned to John Browning for the actual gun itself. Teamed with Colt, he produced prototypes ready for testing and ironically completed them on November 11th, 1918, the Great War's end. The scaled up version of the 30 cal or 30-06 M1917 water-cooled machine gun possessed obvious potential, but the cartridge's enormous power proved far too excessive to the Colt Browning design, which forced the master back to his drafting board. He returned with a buffer system design that seemed a lot more workable. Tests in 1919 and 1920 confirmed the viability of the cartridge and the gun, and the Ordnance approved it for production. The result was the M1921 water-cooled 50 cal machine gun, and was the basis for today's M2 model, fabled the Deuce. When World War II came around, the M2 went into mass production, and I mean mass in every sense of the word. It was originally developed as an anti-aircraft gun though, but was also used in vehicles and armour. It proved extremely useful when mounted on fighter planes and bombers. It was used quite extensively also with the infantry for suppressive fire, and mostly with the armour mounted on top of specialised vehicles that could handle the heavy loads of ammunition needed to feed this metal-chewing pig. Both the Army and the Navy loved the M2, and in World War II it was even more prominently known within the Air Force to defend bombers and even their fighters with the capability of firing long-range projectiles at incoming fighters or at the ground. Specific to bombers, the ball turrets and main guns on the B-17 Flying Fortress was definitely one of the more prominent features that showcased the M2 Browning. Interestingly, during World War II, Audie Murphy, who is one of America's most decorated soldiers, was wounded and fired the M2 atop of a burning tank destroyer, holding off 6 Panzer tanks and 250 German soldiers for more than an hour during a battle in eastern France. In fact, this act of bravery won him the Medal of Honor. This is what some say the battle in the movie Fury was based upon, with this action from Brad Pitt nearly killing an entire SS battalion on the crossroads on top of his tank. The long-range firepower of the Deuce combined with its single-shot capability provided the legendary Marine Corps sniper Carlos Hathcock an unusual but effective weapon. In 1967, Hathcock mounted a 10x scope on an M2, which he later aimed at a Viet Cong guerrilla 2,500 yards away. The nearly 1.5 mile shot remained the world record for the longest sniper kill until 2002. The M2, usually in its heavy barrel designation, has seen extensive use in every single US military campaign since then, including Iraq and Afghanistan wars, especially vehicle-mounted in convoys. In 2003, US Army Sergeant First Class Paul Ray Smith climbed on top of an armoured vehicle and fired the 50 cal at more than 100 enemy soldiers that had pinned down his platoon, saving the lives of his men. Sadly, he was killed during this firefight, and Smith received the Medal of Honor, which was the first award in Operation Iraqi Freedom. The M2 has been in use longer than any other weapon in the American arsenal, with the exception of the 1911 pistol, which is of course ironically also that of John Browning's design. The classic configuration of the machine gun is a belt-fed, air-cooled, recoil-operated machine gun. Its size alone makes it formidable, at nearly 6 feet long and weighing 84 pounds without its tripod, and adding the tripod takes the weight back up to 128 pounds. The 50 cal fires up to 550 rounds per minute, but it can be set to fire single shots, making it effective at being potentially a sniper rifle. Because of the weapon's design, the ammo belt can be fed from either right or left after a few adjustments to the gun's mechanisms. What's more, the 50 cal has the potential to let the gunner reach out and touch someone, as quote, with the weapon's effective range of around 6,000 feet. However, its maximum effective range is about 4 miles. The Browning M2 does have its weaknesses though. If the gun's barrel overheats, a new barrel needs to be installed on the weapon very effectively. The gun will malfunction violently if the barrel change is not performed exactly right, and the task is often quite finicky, time-consuming, and pretty dangerous in terms of extreme heat burning your hands off. The machine gun malfunctions caused by improperly performed barrel changes injured dozens of soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan before the Pentagon approved the adoption of the Quick Change Kit in 2012 that allows the barrel replacement to be done without manual resetting of the weapon, doing the head spacing. The head spacing is done with a small key to ensure the barrel is seated correctly. The basic M2 has many variants. This heavy machine gun was intentionally designed to operate in many different configurations. The M2HB, or heavy barrel version, is a basic infantry model fitted with a thicker wall barrel. It is used on armoured fighting vehicles and tanks as well, and it is worth noting that the first versions of the M2 were actually water-cooled. The original air-cooled barrel was too light for sustained fire in ground applications. The M2HB entered service in the 1930s. The M2A1 is a recently upgraded version. It features that quick change barrel holder and the new flash suppressor, and removable carry handle. On the M2A1, the barrel can be replaced merely in seconds. The M2A1 entered service with the US Army in 2010 and is produced by General Dynamics. In 2011, the US Army began upgrading the M2HP machine guns to the M2A1 standard, and in 2012 it announced that 45,000 M2HPs in the US Army infantry were upgraded to the M2A1 standard. There are faster variants of this weapon system, including the ANM3 for use in aircraft, having a rate of fire of around 1,200 rounds per minute. One belt-fed M2HP comes normally with 100 rounds or 200 round boxes. Right from World War II to Vietnam, the M2 used armoured-piercing incendiary rounds. All such bullets that were called armoured-piercing must have gone through at least 22.2mm of hardened steel armour from 500 meters to be classified as such. If you were to try and make a 2-meter hole within a bunker using only an M2 Browning, you would need 300 rounds. So, there you have it everyone, the 50 caliber M2 Deuce in all its glory. You should know about this weapons platform if you're a subscriber of my channel. I'd be very surprised if you did not know of its presence in the world, because it's all over the place, you know. It's a very, very interesting platform because of the fact of how old it is and how useful it is in the modern battlefields to this day. As it said at the beginning of the video here, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and clearly the 50 caliber machine gun is doing very well for itself to this day. I myself have fired this weapon system before in Afghanistan. It's a lot of fun. Didn't use it in combat. I actually was using the chain gun, which is technically a helicopter machine gun inside my Warrior, but I would have loved to have one of these things mounted inside of the turret of the cupola of my Warrior, because it would have been a lot more effective, I can tell you that much. When you fire the 50 cal, I can't really explain the feeling you get when you're seeing those rounds go down range and hitting targets. It's pretty impressive. The feel of the firepower coming off the gun itself, again, is incredible. It's a feeling you gotta experience at some point, hopefully, in your life, guys. If you make it to Vegas or wherever you can to try and, give one of these things a go. Really, really fun piece of equipment to use, when you're just firing at targets. Of course, anyone downrange in a real combat scenario of this machine gun, they're going to have a really bad day. The projectiles do some horrible things to people when they actually hit. So, it's a bit of a fearful weapon when you start hearing these things go down. Infantry in contact tend to not be around for much longer. I can tell you, for the most part, when we were engaging in Afghanistan, when the troops were using them on the WMIX with the parachute regiment that we were attached to, yeah, once the rounds go downrange on the 50 cal, not many people are wanting to hang around for much longer. They're pretty impressive. They were punching through compound walls like nobody's business, and these compound walls are like nearly 2 feet thick of compacted mud and hay and straw and wood and sticks, and just chewing right through them like butter. So really, really impressive. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's video, everyone. Please leave me a like and a comment. If you want to be notified of any upcoming videos, please hit the little bell by the subscribe button and ensure that you click all notifications if you want to be updated. If you want to support my channel, I do have a Patreon account. You're more than welcome to go check that out. All the links for everything that are involved with my channel are in the description link box below. Just scroll down in the middle of the video here. You'll see the little link box there open up, and there's all sorts of different links you could check out, including my fan mail, my Patreon, my Facebook link. Everything's there. I appreciate you stopping by today. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time for more military-related content. All the best. Bye-bye.